It's episode 16 of Whole Lot of Wolves Season 6. I'm Joshua Buckley alongside co-host Paul LePage.
Hello.
On the socials, we have Danny Paletti.
Good evening.
Alex Patakis, our producer from New York City.
Hey.
And joining us once again from Pittsburgh, it's the man with the best beard, Drew Breyer. Welcome back to the show.
Let's do this, boys.
Let's do this indeed. The Rob Edwards era. It started off with so much promise for like 20 minutes, and then it turned into just like every other Wolves game. Crystal Palace 2, Wolves 0. We wondered what the lineup was going to look like, Paul, and we got to look, and it was actually something a lot of us have been clamoring for, and that was 2 up at the top with Strand Larson and Tolu. How'd you feel about that 5-3-2?
I think my dread for this game actually started in the tunnel. I sat down right in time as the teams were coming out, and I just kept on going back and forth between the two starting 11s, thinking how far we've come from that team that should be at least competing with or beating like a good Crystal Palace team, especially back to those Nuno days. So just to see those players coming out thinking, we're in trouble. I could see the reversion back to it wasn't going back to, it was the flip-flop of Vitor with formation. So to have some hopefully stability that he sticks to the 5 and builds off of that, hopefully that was good. But just looking down that side, you thought, it's kind of hard working. He's going to play 2 up top, but where's the creativity going to come from? And that was just apparent for the whole 90 minutes and change, that there just wasn't any whatsoever.
Yeah, Muller-Wolf was starting on the left side, Drew, Agbadou starting on right center back, so they had Krejci playing the sweeper role. Overall, I mean, how would you have done the lineup if you were managing that as your first game?
I would probably, if I could, start 11 Mario Meneses. But if that is, if that's out of the question, honestly, again, it's this is the hand Rob Edwards has been dealt, right? And I'm sure we'll go into it a little bit. Paul talks creativity. I would have liked to have seen Bellegarde maybe, behind the 2 big men up top, but if we're talking minutes coming off international duty, and they kept talking about how it seemed he wanted some big guys out there to kind of like be physical, and heck, that's the team that Vitor brought. I think Muller-Wolf has shown in a few of our at least Carabao Cup games that he can put in a shift, and I think honestly Agbadou he did all right, all things considered.
He was not Agbadou this game.
Yeah.
Danny, you're our international expert. Do you think that needing to manage the minutes for Bellegarde and Arias played a role in that lineup?
On the one hand, yes, perhaps, but it felt like a mixed bag, because we know that Munetsi had stayed back from international duty allegedly to work with the new coach, with Rob Edwards. It's possible that some of that went into the same decision for Krejci, although he was also suspended from one of his games. But then you look at Muller-Wolf, who was away on international duty, although obviously in Europe, so not quite as far. And I think a lot of people felt that Hugo Bueno, had been doing, an adequate job. And then, people say, well, Muller-Wolf had a good international break. And I don't know. I remember sitting there while the game was starting and saying, but also he's providing assists to Erling Haaland against Estonia or whatever. I don't want to undercut his contributions to his international team. And, he seems like an industrious, more than adequate left back for Norway. But I just, it kind of it undercuts that that overall idea that he picked players who he was able to work with the whole week when he picked smaller Wolfes. So I don't know. I don't really know what to think. Certainly, Munetsi would have been there much, much longer than the two of the other ones who could have played there. So Arias and Bellegarde would have been kind of the latest ones coming back, I think, especially Bellegarde. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. It feels like I'm clutching at straws here because, like, I think a lot of people were really excited to maybe see a lineup that didn't include Munetsi, and
not going to happen.
And the fact that he stayed home from the international break just maybe sealed it in, but that makes it feel like, well, now I'm putting pressure on the next.
Well, so Mateta nearly scored early, Alex, but other than that, they were kind of quiet. But Krejci actually had the Wolves' best chance. João Gomez had a free kick that was forced to save from Henderson, and Krejci just put it over the bar. I think what was interesting there, though, was Gomez was taking the free kick. Do you think that the set pieces are going to be switched up a little bit under Edwards?
I just feel like that maybe was a little bit of a lack of options, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that's João Gomez's specialty. I guess he did well enough to force that save, but if you look around to who else was on the pitch, I really don't know who I would argue should have been taking it over him. Depending on the positioning, if it makes sense for a left-footed player to take it, the only player who you could argue, who I think was also lined up over the ball, is Müller-Wolfe, because you assume he could put in a decent cross, put some curve on the ball. But it's simply just that you can't make an argument for anyone else over him, is what I really think it is. Arias is kind of like this dead ball specialist. He wasn't on the pitch because he hasn't been good or because of international whatever. Bellegarde, I think we've seen take some free kick. Like when those guys are on the bench, not that they're like a shoe in either. It's just a lack of options.
Man, we used to complain about like Neto and some of those other guys taking free kicks. What I wouldn't give for those times now. It's just bad. Krejci, Paul, do you feel like he should have buried that shot, or was it just kind of a tough one because of the way it rebounded?
I think it was a tough one based on how quick it came to him. But if you think about the parallels with Palace's first goal, it's quite similar in that his was a fantastic finish, really, for that quickness in reaction time. And maybe on another day, Krejci may have got a good finish based off of that. So when you looks out, isn't it? And I think it's one of those that you get a chance like that. It's probably 50-50, 50% of the times what happened. The other 50, it's in the back of the net and you 1-0 up.
So not only are Wolves crap, but we're unlucky as well. And that's what happened on the first goal when Munoz, he scored on a set piece that was deflected just right to him. I mean, really didn't have a shot to stop that, did he, Drew?
No, and but Munoz, man, he just loves to score against Wolves too. He's like, my goodness, he could play right wing for Fulham with that form he's got against Wolves. It is kind of wild though that Wolves haven't necessarily been like unlucky with VAR. 2 years ago we're like losing points, like had 8 or 9 points straight taken from VAR. And this year it's like the luck is more that they just like the luck is just falling to everybody else. And the other thing is like other teams just seem to have guys who can finish, even going back to like we're talking about that free kick. I mean, I can't remember the guy from Leeds who banged in the free kick. Like Wolves have nobody on their team who would have made that. And like that was shown in this game too. And here we are, it does like the way the ball is just not bouncing Wolves' way, which is like the last thing that this team needed.
I think we can look to Jeff Shee's favorite book for inspiration with here. Nice 3-body problem quote. We've been very lucky, but if it's all luck, then it has to end one day. Let me tell you, it's ended. That's seems pretty fair. That's actually probably better than anything he's had. The second goal, huh?
I was going to say, wait a second now, because as you reiterate that, I'm wondering if he was just had that on his mind when he was talking about the Nuno era being a lot of luck, because it does sound a lot very similar. It's almost like he's already used that quote in another instance in actual life, even though you're making a mockery of him, which is hilarious. So, joke's on you, Josh. You can't even mock the guy because he's actually doing these things in real life now.
Here's another one for you. There's no such thing as luck. There is only adequate or inadequate preparation to cope with the statistical universe.
It's all inadequate. All inadequate.
Yep, definitely inadequate. The second goal, it was Hwang again. He's just, I don't know, Danny. He's really getting to be, I say unplayable. I know Brits use unplayable different than Americans. Americans, when we say unplayable, means they're absolute dog shit and you can't put them out there. Danny, are you starting to feel that way about Hwang? Because him giving away the ball deep in the second half led to that second goal.
This is bait. No, I am not. But it's not because I'm going to sit here and defend Hwang and say that he's not actually playing that bad, because he is playing that bad, but so is everyone else. I just, been looking at a lot of the clips people have been putting up the last couple days and rewatching some of the game myself. And I just, once again, I have to feel like this team is so poorly constructed and so weak. We're putting him in positions where he's clearing it from basically the position of a right back.
Yeah.
Like, why is anyone surprised that he, makes a mistake in that position? And like, sure, there are players who are more versatile out there in the world who can play from that position as well as play, in the width of the goal box and score and all those things. But like, we don't have those players anymore. We have players who have very specific roles that they need to play in order to shine. We also have players like, this is where I'm going to end up on a dangerous rant, but like Jackson Chachua or Marshall Monetsi, who might have certain skills or speed or whatever, but their deficiencies make no one want to pass to them.
Yeah.
Whereas I know that some people may feel uncomfortable with Hwang having the ball, but he's a player who actually wants the ball and will take it and actually go towards the goal, which for a game where we barely had a shot on target, all I need is somebody to try to get the ball towards the goal. And I'm not going to sit here and blame Strand Larson particularly, but that was his only outlet and he's central and he Hwang doesn't really have a pass to him. So it's that or pass back, which no one wants either. No one wants, our dynamic forward to be passing back to the goalkeeper. We're not going to feel comfortable with him doing that either. It just, I don't know. It gets old, but it all feels structural at this point where a lot of these are players who I think in a better team, like the team that we used to be, can shine. We've seen that with Hwang, with Bellegarde, with others who are currently in this team that we knew that they had shortcomings, but they looked good in the team that we had. Now they're some of our best players. And yeah, Hwang's going to fuck up, and he fucked up that time and he'll probably fuck up next week too. But I don't know. I'd rather him be taking the chances than hoping he somehow gets it to Jackson Chachua, who doesn't seem to even want to dribble the ball. He's always laying it off to João Gomez to pass backwards. I don't know. I'll take the forward pass, even if it goes to the opposition any day.
I see you were watching some musings from Molineux.
You're damn right I was.
But even to that point, Danny, as well, I can't quote the author of the tweet accurately, but wasn't 6 of the starters from Saturday in the teams that won 6 on the bounce last season?
Yeah.
So it just happens this happens when you take a Cunha and you take out Nuri and those players out. You take a Sarabia for some creativeness off the bench. If you're putting Mateus Cunha in that team, he's at least giving one player, possibly two, a problem down that left-hand side. Now there is zero threat. So you're looking at Manetzi or Chachu or someone to do something, and the opponents, they're rubbing their hands together because they've got one job, is to shut them down, because they're not going to propose a challenge where you might have to double up on a Cunha, or certainly watch out for an Aït-Nouri, because they got that genuine creativity and a threat in them. There's no threat anymore. There's no one to counter with speed or pace. There's no Neto to hit ball over the top and run onto. There's nothing like that they got to worry about.
Here's an interesting question, because Paul's bringing it up. How many points, Paul, do you think Wolves would have if Cunha was still in the squad?
I'd think we'd have picked up probably 2 wins by now.
Mm.
I think we'd be 8 points, maybe 9.
That's crazy. One player,
Yeah.
And I think you're correct on that. I mean, one player, 6 points through this rest of the season.
Look at the knock-on impact it's having on Strand Larsen.
Yeah.
That he was putting away chances last season because he was getting them, and he was in good form, and certainly some of his goals were his own craft. But just look at the opportunities that he was able to put away from decent crosses into the box or build-up play that we just haven't got anymore.
Although I will say, Drew, Strand Larsen really had a good string of games when Cunha was suspended that second time. So I keep thinking back to, where did that Strand Larsen go?
Yeah, and honestly, Bellegarde was, I think, had as many, if not the most assists to Strand Larsen last year as any other Wolves player. If I'm remembering correctly, I think Cunha obviously opened a number of channels and teams played differently, but he only had 2 actual assists to Strand Larsen. And but also, Aït-Nouri as well certainly set up Strand Larsen a couple of times. But I don't know if the answer is to get Strand Larsen going. I mean, there's just nothing going. There's no progression up the pitch, as Paul and Danny were saying. The Wolves are a very easy team to defend right now, and we were excited for 2 big guys up top, but lumping it up top is not Strand Larsen's game either. He had a couple of headed goals last year because of nice service, but he'd rather it be at his feet and be making something happen that way. It's just, unfortunately, there's just a lot kind of negativity happening right now, and a lot of guys' games are suffering because of it.
I'll have to ask good friend Stu Hall, who has the worst offense this year, Wolves or the New York Jets? I don't know. Both pretty bad. Alex Arias did come in, and he made an impact. Not sure it was really a good impact, because he got in JSL's way of a 6-yard, what really should have just been a nice little tap in. There's rumors that he may be one of the January departures. Would you be fine with that at this point?
Yes, I would. I don't know what he's adding. If you can get money back for him, great. If he is already wanting to go, good riddance. That's kind of how I feel. It's a little different than some of the other transfers, and we've talked about this. He's not a young player who's going to go on to another club after this and then all of a sudden find this form and we're going to be regretting it and laughing at ourselves, like Patiño style, right? He's not. He's supposed to be in his prime right now. He's supposed to be peaking in football, and he's gone to the biggest league in the world and just looks completely, unsuited, not suited for it. And again, would he thrive in a different Premier League team? Maybe. But if he wants to go back to Brazil, be my guest, man. All he's doing now at this point is taking, all he will do, maybe, because I don't think we'll see a ton of him starting, is take minutes away from players who probably will be here next year. So just move on, man. We got, like I said, we got catfished. We fell for it. We fell for the Club World Cup. And, we'll have to own that for a while.
Danny, just based on the expectations he had after the Club World Cup, do you feel like Arias is the most disappointing of all of the transfer window signings?
He has to be the most disappointing only because he's the only one that I had any kind of excitement for. Even that, I don't know. This is going to be a real downer. I just like the whole window, and we sort of talked about this when the window closed, just wasn't that inspiring. And sometimes, you don't quite see the vision and then the players come together. But I think kind of anybody who was paying attention knew the sort of downgrades we were having, even if, he turned out to be as good as we thought. It still really wasn't replacing like for like with Cunha. And so it was very hard to see what the plan was there. So yeah, most disappointing kind of by default, because I wasn't that excited about anyone else. I will say that I guess I'm not really writing Arias off, only because I think he could well be suffering from being in a bad team, just like a lot of these other players are. Arias in our team from 3 or 4 years ago might look great, but we are not helping him out. And I think it's also fair to say he's not helping us out. But yeah, if he left in January, I would just put a big question mark over that whole tenure, because I don't know what I can learn from what this guy can do, being in a maybe the worst Premier League team that's ever existed.
So what I'm hearing is Danny feels like Hwang and Arias are two of the guys that are going to keep us in the Premier League. Gotcha.
Not at all.
Paul, any positives we can take?
We mentioned it briefly, but probably Agbadu having a certain amount of stability, kind of playing as an inverted right back and actually putting the ball in the box a couple of times, unlike Chachura, who was shit scared to receive it, and his teammates looked like shit scared to pass to. So maybe that's something for Agbadu. Johnson was okay, claimed a few high balls, did what he needed to do. There looked to be that somewhat of a quickness to release the ball, but there was no I don't know why I was even expecting a fresh broom to really sweep the shit away and polish this fantastic side under Rob Edwards. There was no real light switch coming on, and it was different altogether. So I think he's just trying to not lose and somehow score and try and get something from games. And when you set up like that and you come up against a good team like Palace, they can handle you pretty comfortably, which they ultimately did.
Drew, as Edwards gets a little bit more time with these guys on the training pitch, what are some characteristics you would like to see them start having?
Is leaving a characteristic? I again, they showed some, they show something, but it's for 15 minutes over a 90-minute span. There seems to be something there, but it really, it does not seem as though they're able to sustain it, for a half of football, much less a full 90 minutes. And even earlier in the season with Vitor, with the 1-0s and trying to hold on and just unable to park the bus and make it ugly, whatever they needed to do to hang on to a 1-goal lead, they weren't able to do over the length of a full game. but you know, yes, there were definitely some positives, and you know, you'd like to think that these guys are thinking like they're, you know, if they didn't care for Vitor, you know, they've got a clean slate, they've got a new manager in there to try to impress. Again, you know, we're hoping that like a lot of these guys are trying to put on a show, whether it's for, you know, their country or for the next club they want to play for. So I feel like those, like it's going to be kind of small things here and there that we're going to have to really hang on to, and you know, and the wins are going to be, if the wins come, like it's going to be a 1-0 that they eke out, or a maybe that again, like there was certainly some positives, and you know, like seeing Agbadu, he ran down Mateta. There was there was the time that Mateta ran through pretty much unabated, but then another time that like he ran through and Agbadu just outran him, and like that's the Agbadu that we recall from last year, you know. But I feel like maybe getting Bellegarde a chance to be like a little more creative, because I think he's one of the few guys that you know, is willing to progress the ball up the pitch, is like wants, as you know, like somebody who wants the ball, like we were discussing earlier. I think maybe you know, getting Bellegarde a chance to perhaps play behind the two big guys, we'll see where that can take them.
Well, let's look ahead to Wolves' next match. It's going to be Sunday at 9:05 Eastern, 8:05 Central Time. I am very curious, Alex, to see what time the Wolves social media account actually says it is in Fort Lauderdale, since on Fort Lauderdale advertisements, they cannot get the kickoff time right.
So is that really the second time that's happened?
Second in a row.
Oh, man.
It said the game started at 11. I mean, maybe if they're like in the middle of the ocean.
Okay, so the first time they had a small excuse, which is that it was the week after there's like that gap week between the UK time change and the US time change. Who the hell knows why we change times at different times of the year? It's all a mess.
Or still change.
So yeah, we were GMT -4 1 week, and then they kept it -4 for the following week. You get a mulligan on that one. They did it again this year, this week. There's no excuse. We just had a whole international break where we're all looking at the time zones anyway. And also, I mean, come on, don't we all do this on our phones now? Like,
it's an average. It would be fine if like they were just a random city, but it's an advertisement for Fort Lauderdale, and they're getting the game. That to me just says all you need to know about how this season is going. In an advertisement, I mean, Fort Lauderdale at this point has to be like, what are we wasting our money on?
I think our good friend Chris Fisher from Fort Lauderdale needs to organize a watch party that's out in international waters, wherever it's 11 a.m. instead of 10 a.m.
Paul,
I think we probably had a fact checker for all of that stuff, and Jeff Shee fired him, or her potentially. So another thing you can blame it on.
Oh, it's just ridiculous. Anyways, this match is going to be Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, and in Fort Lauderdale, 9 a.m. So Villa's fourth in the table, 1 defeat in the last 5. They've really turned it on since starting out pretty slow. They came away with a 2-1 away win at Leeds. So Morgan Rogers is a man in form with 2 goals. Paul, what do you think about him? You're the England guy.
Yeah, he's doing well for England, that's for sure. As we approach the World Cup, and certainly giving Jude Bellingham a run for his money in the starting 11. So, but it's not just him, is it? They got Conser at the back, who's England starting potential centre back. Ollie Watkins up front. It's a pretty tasty team they've put together. Again, just look at some of those signings of where they've come from as well. Like investing money in talent that are potentially lower league or have been and have built up that way. So all the time. We've been kicking around in France and these types of places, and all of these star players potentially on your own doorstep.
So, with kind of now a week to figure out some things, Drew, what do you anticipate the formation being?
I'm assuming I think he's gonna stick with the 5-3-2. I do. I guess again, if I assume that means keeping the two big men up top. If he doesn't do that, I could see him even, maybe playing like Bellegarde and Manetzi just behind Strand Larsen. Maybe bringing in Bellegarde for Tolu and just sort of playing them in behind. I'm trying to think of how Villa lines up, and at this point, does it even matter? Because just the talent differential is so significant. Nobody has really put themselves forward as like somebody who's going to go out there and kind of really take charge and take ownership over what's happening on the pitch. So it wasn't, again, you can sort of look at it was an unfortunate bounce for goal number 1 and a crazy a bad turnover, but a worldie for goal number 2. So maybe his formation wasn't so bad in his effort of his first week. So I could see him sticking with that as well.
Danny, do you anticipate any lineup surprises?
No, but only because maybe nothing will surprise me at this point. And I kind of expect him to still be finding his best team again with the international break. It would have been nice if he'd had more time with some of those players, but he'll have a full week now, and I'm hoping that he will start to find a sort of settled 11, and we start to see a bit more of an identity, just because we didn't really, we looked kind of okay for parts of that game, but still really lacking an identity. So that's kind of the first job. I think, again, can't be looking at the table. There's kind of no point at looking at the table at this point. And so,
strain your neck right now.
Just try to have some kind of identity, try to be defensively solid, and then let the chips fall where they may.
This is where we've come. Just don't even look, just try. Wow. The standard. Thanks, Jeff. This is great. Alex, if they do only go with one striker, I actually think Tolu should be the guy, not JSL. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd be on board with that. We were going through positives earlier, and again, we're really having to kind of scrape the bottom of the barrel to just come up with positives from the match against Palace. I guess I would put Tolu in there. I thought he did a decent job. He is a player that, unlike Larson, when they kind of just, hoof it up the pitch, can bring the ball down, control it. He just has no one to let it off to continue any type of momentum forward. But I did watch that game against Palace and think, and that guy's we're gonna see a lot of tea time in the championship next year. I think.
I'm telling you, golden boot.
Yeah, I can see that being a serious consideration. So I would play him, I guess. I don't know. How does that go over if you sit Larson in your second game and you're Rob Edwards and he's he hasn't done anything. So in my mind, there is nobody that's, beyond a benching at this point, maybe bar João Gomez or something like that. But yeah.
Who Vitor benched, by the way.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he has also been benched already. So barring some type of dust up on the training ground, I feel like he will be in the team though going forward. I don't think Rob Edwards wants to rustle those feathers, or a pre-contract agreement with United. So actually, maybe that wouldn't surprise me either. I got nothing, Josh. Just play Tolu. Who cares? Just do it.
I think the only thing that talks to is, again, how bad the squad's been constructed, because Where is he looking for something off the bench to change it? If either of them starts, if you're playing both together, then you're taking at least that option away from the bench of someone to turn to and add some fresh legs. So I think all we can say on this is
It's a good window. I think it's a good window.
That's what we heard. It's a good window. Oh, brutal. Well, let's look at the standings. I predicted that Wolves would be a little better, and they were. That's why I got 3 points for my 2-0 Palace win. Alex and Danny each got a point. Paul, your optimism was kicked in the nuts. So I've got 12 points. Danny, you've got 8. Paul, 6. Alex, 5. And the guest spot, Drew, needs some points. They're at 4. So let's start with you. What's your prediction?
Well, it's a derby game. If that means anything at this point in the season, Villa does have to play Thursday, I think. So, they may have some tired legs, so they probably will only put 2 past Johnstone. So 2-0 Villa.
2-0 Villa. Danny?
Yeah, I'm right there with Drew. I'm going 2-0. I'm not explaining it any further.
Alex?
Another goalless performance. It almost just feels it is the most likely, but it also seems like there just kind of has to be a goal at this point in a league game, whether it be a penalty, an own goal, maybe. 3-1 Villa.
3-1. Paul, you optimistic this week?
it's a local derby. Local derbies always end 1-1.
1-1. No? Okay. Yeah, I'm with it. By the way, Alex was the one who alerted it to us. If Wolves don't get a goal in this match, then they will have no goals for goal of the month for all of November. So
please let them get an own goal, please. Oh, would that be incredible?
I said this weeks ago, and it still stands. Krejci is their biggest goal threat. Like he legitimately is, and that man is starting center back for Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Who's the funniest Aston Villa player to get Wolves goal of the month with an own goal? Is it Emi Martinez, who used to be at Wolves?
Yeah.
It's got to be John McGinn. Please be John McGinn.
Oh yeah,
That's true. John McGinn.
Bounce
Off his big fat
old
ass.
ears.
Yeah.
Yeah, big old ears.
The banter is better with John McGinn. Yeah, that's
It'll
good.
be a terrible Joe Gomez free kick again. He'll be on the wall and he'll bounce off his big butt cheek and into the top corner.
Even if Wolves scored a worldie that game, if there was still an own goal by John McGinn, the fans would overwhelmingly vote for that as goal of the month.
Hopefully they get a goal. I think they can get a goal. And Rob Edwards, I think, because it is a local derby, he understands the importance of getting guys up for Villa. So, again, I think Wolves play a little bit better. So, Villa 2, Wolves 1.
All right. And with those predictions, it is time to go to our favorite part of the show, and that is No Stupid Questions, where you, the listener and viewer, have the opportunity to ask anything about Wolves. You can do it by emailing us hello@wholelotofwolves.com, by sending us a X on X at WLW Pod. And of course, if you are watching live on the Facebook or YouTube stream, you can go ahead and throw your question into the chat, as our friend Chris Fisher down in Fort Lauderdale on Eastern Standard Time down in Fort Lauderdale did. So we'll kick it off with him. And he asks, how many more games until the show title is called The Eulogy? Usually I try to do something that's came up. Maybe it's like a punny thing, maybe it's just like a general vibe off of the show. I'm really running out of ideas here, guys. Like there's not like many other ways to say like another goalless terrible shit show at Molineux. Like maybe, thank you Chris for nominating this. Maybe I can use that as soon as this week, just for something different. So please send your show title suggestions.
We have to watch out though, because it could come back to bite us. There was in 2006 the Houston Chronicle famously put a tombstone on the front of the sports section for the Astros season when they were 15-31, and the Astros ended up making the World Series that year. So maybe you should title it the eulogy, Alex.
All right.
And then
like
that'll turn it around, and next thing you know, we're in Europe next year.
a little reverse curse.
Mhm.
That would be.
I
that'd be
mean,
pretty cool.
it's got to work better than this stupid candle that we tried.
Yeah. Damn.
There's not enough candles in the world.
There are not enough candles in the world. By the way, Josh, I know you're a DraftKings guy. I know you're our resident bookie. Don't look. Just while we're talking about miracles, what do you think the current odds are on Wolves to be relegated?
Oh,
Right, on DraftKings only. It's different in a lot of places, but I'm just going to use that. It's
on DraftKings only, man, with 2 points. Normally those would be plus numbers, but I'm going to say like minus 120.
minus 120. Wow,
Yeah.
Josh, I'll bite your hand off for minus 120 on this. To use a common phrase of
What
our
is
friends
it?
over on the other side of the pond. This is just to contextualize the type of miracle it would be, and the Astros comparison is probably a good one too. I bet you those odds were similar. Certainly, odds not to win the World Series, minus 1,400. So that's what you're up against right now, guys. It's Joey said minus 2,000. Good guess. I
Pretty
actually saw on some books, I think it was about 2,000 or like 2,200. One of my
I mean,
friends
that's
showed me that.
crazy for this point of the season because normally books are still so afraid to lose money on stuff or to at least prompt action that they'd have it in the pluses. Are we the only one with minus odds right now?
One other club has negative
West Ham?
odds. No, it's actually Burnley at minus 450.
Okay.
It's even still
Yeah, that's
not
that's
even half
high.
as
Burnley.
steep a hole as Wolves, according to
Minus 14.
the people who do this for a living. All
So
right.
does Fosun have a betting conglomerate amongst all of their many
Well, yeah,
businesses
D-Bet,
underneath
right?
them?
D-Bet.
Is that theirs or
I don't know. That's just
Who knows?
Is that anyone's?
Yeah. Is it even still around? I don't know.
Yeah, it could be theirs. Good luck finding real information on that shadowy company on the internet. All right, let's actually do another one from the chat from our friend Todd in Minnesota. You made this comparison, I think, like the very first match he ever played, Josh. And I'm so mad that we're still at this point, and that you having a knee-jerk reaction to him actually ended up being right. But would you rather actually rather have Munetzi or Dendoncker in your starting 11? That's an easy one for me, but I'll let you take that since you're the first to rule Mario Munetzi out.
I'm gonna say Munetzi. I'd rather have him.
Oh
my God.
He runs better.
I thought this was a look at Tilia Paul.
I have never had a stronger reaction to one of your takes, Josh. I cannot believe you would say that. I will give you this.
You gotta remember how much I hated Dendoncker.
I remember very well, but
I still have. There's still a few things I think Munetzi does well. Paul's exasperated.
all right, Josh.
There may be a new host next week of this show.
You must remember that goal against West Ham where Adama dribbled it like the entire length of the field and then put in a cross for who to smash in with their head? Dendoncker. Do you think, given 100 chances, that Marshall Munetzi gets his head on that and scores?
Probably not. But you know what? He hustles.
If you're thinking that, by the way, just
so does Larry Flint.
Just so listeners know, we do know that his name is Marshall, and it's not just Danny who's not an idiot, but Josh kept calling him Mario, like trying to blend Mario Lamina and Marshall Munetzi into one player. It's easy mistake. They wear the same number. So now at this point, he is just Mario Munetzi as far as a whole lot of Wolves goes. Just we don't need the correcting. We're just kind of running with it. All right, let's go to Glenn Aston on X. Are Fosun prioritizing esports over the football team with a plan to let them rot? I mean,
maybe it's all very opaque and kind of like the podcast that I missed because I was sick. You guys got to talk about that Jackie Oatley clip that was so good, and I just was thinking back to that and how like part of the problem is just how the communication has been so poor. Obviously, we know Jeff Shee's totally wild ramblings on various platforms, but also just from Fosun about their intentions. Any kind of plan. Any decent organization has at least, you'd think, a couple of years worth of planning sitting around. 5-year plan, maybe even a 10-year plan involving some sort of stadium improvements. But we just have no idea what their intentions are. And there's been like a total blackout from Fosun about any real clear direction for the future. And I bring that up because I just wonder, a lot of the talk has been about, Fosun really just wanting the badge, and they use that for esports. They're promoting their esports team. But it just all feels so strange because at what point, if Wolves drop down the leagues, if maybe Wolves fall out of the football league, maybe they're in non-league football, maybe Molineux is condemned. At what point do they just say, well, we got what we want, and you can rebrand an esports team much more easily, call it Wii Sports, have it be the same colors, a slightly different badge. And like, what is the point of the connection to the club? Like, I don't know. I'm sort of just rambling at this point, but like, it's genuinely because I don't really understand like what value is there in the brand if there isn't actual like brand synergy. Like if you're going to let one thing completely die on the vine and put money into another thing, then like what is the point of having both? I don't know.
Baby. All about the logo.
But how important is a logo? Like, I don't know. We've all been complaining about like all these companies recently, like Cracker Barrel and whatever else, like changing their logo and everybody hates it or whatever. But like, it doesn't feel like the value is actually in the logo. Like a brand is important. Branding is important. But at the same time, like what really matters is the infrastructure, as Wolves fans have now become, uniquely like aware of, is like you're losing out on all this infrastructure. If they completely had to change the Wolves esports branding, they still have the ability to sign the same players. They still have a plan to build some crazy esports stadium or whatever. Like those are real tangible things that have value that like, could be put on a ledger. Whereas like a brand can be built more or less overnight compared to those things. And it's just, I don't know. It's such a crazy situation. We all know this. Like, it's just, no one has an answer for what their plans are with respect to the two sides of this thing.
This esports stadium is going to be like that stadium from the Brazil World Cup that was in the rainforest, where it had like 5 matches and now it's like overrun by vines and everything. Like when they build this and Fosun finally leaves, it's just going to be nothing.
The world's largest tropical bird toilet now.
Let's move on to this question on X from the Wolves Women podcast. Which is your favorite Beth Merrick FA Cup goal? Danny, do you want to take this and give us a little update on how that question came about?
Yeah, and even better, because I was delighted to see that Nick from the Wolves Women pod was actually in our live chat just now, because he happens to be in Atlanta this week. So yeah, I guess right off the bat, I'll answer the question. Didn't have to dig back too far because Beth Merrick actually pretty prolific in the FA Cup and in general, but especially likes the FA Cup. I have to go back only a couple of years to say that the goal that started the comeback against Reading in I think the 4th round, which is Reading was above us by one league at the time. And then, of course, Destiny Toussaint with the winner. And then the following round, she scored the only goal, a penalty against Brighton and Hove, who were up in the top tier at the time. So that's kind of a pair of goals there that I think are particularly special. And obviously the context of the question is that Wolves women just moved on to the next round after dispatching Stoke. Kind of a heavyweight match from our own league. Stoke, one of the other very good teams in the league that Wolves women are trying to get promoted out of. So pretty nervy match for a lot of it. I think it went in 0-0 at halftime, but Beth Merrick special to start the scoring, which if you haven't been paying close attention, usually is her coming down the left wing and cutting inside. And if she shoots with the right foot from the top of the top corner of the box, then 9 times out of 10, it's going in that top corner. So that's exactly what she did. They do have their draw already for the next one. And unfortunately, it's Forest, the team that got promoted from our league last year and who have strengthened considerably. So that's going to be a tough one, but they're having a great season, currently still undefeated, currently still very much in the picture for promotion. So despite all the doom and gloom with the men's team, still something to cheer for at the club, thankfully.
Can a Wolves women goal be nominated for goal of the month and promoted on the?
I mean, Beth Merrick might end up getting 2 goal of the month awards for November because by default there might not be any competition.
Let's conclude no stupid questions on this one from Matthew Silva, who was actually a guest all the way back in season 2, I believe it was, of a Whole Lot of Wolves. All the way from Japan. He emailed us hello@wholelotofwolves.com to ask if any of us, except for Paul, will be excited about the championship next season. He says, as a fan of the game, he likes to see teams he's never seen before, more derby games, unless the shit go down too. Actually see some goals, which we are yet to see in the month of November, and some wins, which we are yet to see since April. Drew, I don't know. Has this been miserable enough to have some excitement for the championship next season? Yes.
Before I answer this, on the Marshall Manetzi slander, he is currently leading Wolves in Premier League goals, tied for the lead with 1, and
go ahead.
assists with 1.
And he did not cost the Wolves a spot in the FA Cup final, like some other guy. So
Who? John Ruddy? What's he got to do with it?
now Hendonker got called for that penalty.
John Ruddy couldn't save.
But so
I'd take John Ruddy in midfield over Marshall Manetzi at this point.
Me too.
So thanks to our Walmart Plus membership, I get Paramount Plus, so I will be able to watch the Wolves in the championship, which is, I guess, okay. Hey, if they actually do start winning games in the championship, then hell yeah, I'm all for that. But just kind of looking at some of these players, you assume that like the Andres, the João Gomez, even the Strand Larsens of the team are probably out. I mean, everybody is like, oh, Tolu, he can win the Golden Boot in the championship, but I don't know. Is he gonna want to stick around here? Who knows? Who's
when I start going, y'all got contracts. Suck it up.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah. So did Cunha,
Yeah.
But no, I guess there are more games, and there's like opportunities as mentioned, for some more rivalries. That is exciting. And hey, if they, it's tough. It's tough every weekend not seeing a win. So like, yes, I would love if they actually do get some wins. Yes, I will be excited for that, and I will still support them. I will. My son has left the pack, admittedly, and he's 10. I can't blame him. I can't do this to him anymore. But no, I'll myself. Yeah, I'll be interested to see a different brand of football. I've watched a few, I guess, championship games, and I will be excited to see Wolves, and I hope they do keep giving Edwards an opportunity to actually build something here. If it's the same old, if it's just a stripped down fire sale, and thanks for the badge, peace out kind of deal, that'll be tough. That'll be tough for sure. But if they bring in some younger guys, some guys that are exciting to watch, or just guys with stuff to prove, that'll be something that I will, when I became a Wolves fan, it was like I was trying to choose a Prem team that was sort of in the middle of the table. So I didn't really experience them in the championship. So that'll be, something new for me for sure. But yeah, I can get behind that.
Nah.
Really? Come
Not
on.
excited.
Man, I'm going to be more petrified of the double drop more than anything.
I guess I would caveat it with I am excited, but a lot of that is also kind of tied up in this idea that at some point Fosun would leave. But also, like, I don't know, the only experience I have with caring about Wolves in the championship is when they won it, and when there was a clear upward trajectory. So at that point, it was easy to be excited about, and to expect, given the way things are going, them to do something like that again, to pull off signings that have no business playing in the championship, to win a trophy, which Jeff has said you should not be aiming to do as a Wolves supporter, basically. That's not what you should be interested in. I don't know. It just feels different this time. Like, I think, it'd be nice to experience some joy on a weekend every now and then. But it's to Josh's point. Like, I think it's just like every bit as likely that the pain knows no limits. Like, this might just be the beginning, guys. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I mean,
look, guys, I grew up a Cubs fan and a Bears fan. I'm used to pain. You just swallow the sadness and it goes further down.
Yeah. I'll just quickly say that I'm excited only to the extent that it would be interesting to see something different. And even if Fosun and Jeff Shee still keep making awful choices in the championship, they will have to make them in different ways because they will be operating in a completely different market. And
don't give him a challenge.
It will give us something different to talk about compared to what now feels like several years of the same thing. Even though there have been high points over the last several years, they have sort of like all been a part of this overall decline. And maybe the decline continues, as you say, but at least it will be, they'll have to operate in a different space. That said, I am not excited in any way, even about, winning more often. There's too much pain that comes with that, not just for us as fans, seeing good players that we like leave, too early, but also, in the real world, people who lose their jobs and whatnot, especially in a one-team city like Wolverhampton. There's such a huge effect, and maybe that's partly, me in Baltimore, we only really got the two teams that people care about. And it's not that uncommon that both teams aren't doing great. So, especially in my lifetime. So, it's just, it's not a fun time overall. I would like to see some more goals. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Let's end there because we don't want to get any sadder than we already have. Thanks to everybody who wrote in their no stupid questions. Follow and send them in on X at WLWpod. Hello at wholelotofwolves.com.
Drew, how can people get a hold of you and watch some sadness in Pittsburgh?
So you can follow me on X at Drew Freakin. Also, the pitch on Butler in Lawrenceville is where the Steel City Wolves congregate. I was inspired to get back on Facebook today and check in with the group, see how everyone's doing, see if there is anybody interested in, we are trying to get something together. If that does finally come together, there will, I'll put that out. Maybe you guys can help us get some traction for it. But Steel City Wolves on Facebook, and come be sad with all of us. Don't be sad, mate.
Thanks to Danny on the socials, Alex producing, you in our audience as we put it together for your depression as well as ours. But you'd be doing us a huge favor trying to help Whole Lot of Wolves grow by giving us a 5-star review on the podcast platform listening of choice that you use, or heading over to YouTube if you've yet to do so, subscribing to the channel and liking our content there. We will be back this time next week to see what we have witnessed at Villa Park on Sunday, and then preview another little tricky team coming to Wolves, which is Nottingham Forest the following Saturday. So it is Thanksgiving week. We can be thankful that we aren't Albion fans. We can still shit on the Villa and up the mighty Wolves.
Esports.